Half of the class will actually do comparisons. Oh, do you have the notes?
Yeah.
Alright, okay, that's good. Alright, so comparisons is very important in academic writing. A lot of the writing assignment that you're supposed to do involves comparison, especially when you give examples of like two different countries or two different case studies, or three different case studies. Like most of the times it involves some kind of comparison. So to be able to use the expressions as well as the techniques or the skills well for the purposes of comparing is very important in academic writing. Okay, whose turn is it? You already not it. Okay, yeah.
Comparisons may be the main subject of an essay, supporting evidence for an argument.
Right.
Key principle: always explain clearly what's being compared and ensure accuracy. Practice task: write 3 sentences comparing today's weather with 2 days ago. Example: today is much cooler and windier than it was on Tuesday.
Yeah, so as I said, comparisons are used mainly for the main subject of the essay. So the question basically can ask you compare and contrast two fashion companies, and then you basically do the research to answer the question. Or if you were to write an essay about the landscape of fashion industry in 21st century, so that's the topic of the essay that you have to write about. And what you have to do as example is to give a lot of examples on the individuals and the companies, trendsetters involved in the fashion industry. And what you're doing technically is doing the comparisons. So when you think about it, when you think about academic writing, a lot of what you do is actually making a comparison. So that's why this textbook has a section which is devoted to comparisons only. Okay, so let's have a look. The exercise is not very difficult. So 1, 4, 6, I think is the first page. So write down 3 sentences that compares the weather today and the weather 2 days ago. Hey, Bolton, give me 3 sentences.
The weather is being expected to be warmer than 2 days before.
Only 1 sentence?
Yeah.
Okay, what are the other sentences? What are the other examples that you wrote? Irina?
Today the weather is much sunnier than 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Today the weather is hotter than 2 days ago. Today the weather is windier than 2 days ago.
Just windy or more windy?
Windier.
Windier, alright. Okay. It's pretty simple. Let's go to what are the comparison structures? I mean, these are a broad sort of categories. There can be more, but there are broadly 4 categories. Chinggis.
For 1, year more or less. France is larger than Switzerland. Learning Chinese is more difficult than learning English. Modifiers for degree, slightly, marginally small difference. Considerably, significantly, substantially is a large difference. Example, France is substantially larger than Switzerland. Form 2, SS, the same as. Summers in Tokyo are as wet as in Singapore. The population of France is approximately the same as Britain's. Quantitative comparisons, Britain is half as large as France. The journey by plane is 5 times as fast as by train.
Right, so I mean, it could be just a simple sort of comparison, but I want you to remember the modifiers. So adding the modifiers, you can actually add this accuracy of your writing. So if you want to notify the small differences, you can use slightly or marginally. But if you want to notify the big differences, then you can use considerably, significantly, substantially. So try to use these words when you're making a comparison. I mean, the as, the same as. I mean, you basically compares the equal sort of ground. And quantitative comparisons is used a lot. So half as large as France, or 5 times as big as the other thing. So quantitative comparison is used a lot, especially if you write a quantitative sort of statistics report. So getting familiar with these expressions is very useful. All right. So what other comparisons in academic contexts? Fine.
Some essays are based on comparison. The purpose of this study is to compare Chinese and American consumers on their propensity to use self-service technology in retail.
Great.
Others use comparison for context. The first attempt to decode the human genome took 10 years. Now it can be done in less than a week. Effective comparison: clarify what is being compared, indicate degree to difference accurately, provide quantitatively or qualitative evidence.
Right, so we actually make a comparison for different topics or for different contexts. So it's important, this is very important, that you actually specify what is being compared. So say if you are comparing the weather of France and weather of Netherlands, you're comparing the weather, right? But a lot of cases, some students actually confuse, so they actually omit the subject, so they actually omit the subject is weather. So they just say, okay, the weather of France is blah blah is hotter than Netherlands, and in that case, they're actually making comparison between the weather of France and Netherlands, which is wrong. So it's important that you specify what is being compared in the essay, and also by using the qualifier expressions. I told you about the slightly or like substantially, by using these expressions. Or actually, you use different quantitative expressions to notify the degree of difference as well. And comparisons used a lot, especially for quantitative reports. So when you're using a lot of statistics, they actually make a comparison of different data of different individuals or different data sets or different experiments or different countries. So this just specifying, the quantitative differences in terms of comparisons, very, very important in academic writing. Okay, let's do the exercise 147. All right, it's practice A. Okay, so read the text below and underline the comparison phrases. The first has already been done, right? So compared to in third line. So you underline the expressions that signify the comparison. All right, let's do this. All right, fine. What are the other phrases? Comparison phrases.
Convenient.
More convenient, yes.
Rather than.
Where?
More convenient rather than. After.
Rather than, okay. And what else?
Greater choice.
Yes, greater choice.
Much
Less
wider.
expensive.
Yes, much wider range of goods and
Generally
less
less expensive.
expensive.
Rather house razors than in showrooms.
Yes.
Much quicker.
Yeah, much quicker than.
More reassuring.
More reassuring and more helpful. That's good. Okay, let's go on to superlatives. Whose turn is it? Irina?
Using superlatives.
Mm-hmm.
Superlatives show the extremely defined group. Always define the group, the cheapest car in the third range, not just the cheapest car. Common patterns, the most, the least plus adjective. The most interesting example is the position of Ireland. The most, the fewest plus number. The fewer students studied insurance, lowest number. Key rule: without context, superlatives are unclear or misleading.
Right, so we actually use superlatives in order to signify the most extreme group of people or the most extreme group of animals or individuals, products, so it's actually to notify that. So that's why it's very important to actually define which group well, what are we talking about? So what group of things or beings or like individuals are we talking about? So it's very important that you specify the group that you're making comparison, right? Then it's the same with the superlatives. So it's not just the cheapest car, but it's the cheapest car in the Ford range. And if you were to add a different sort of group, then it's the cheapest car in South Korea, it's the cheapest car in Uzbekistan. So you have to add which group are we talking about when we're talking about the superlative, the extreme. And these are the common like expressions that you can use: the most, the least, an adjective, or the most, the fewest numbers. So either you can add the superlatives before the adjective, or you can use it in order to signify numbers, right? So this is again very important. If you were to use superlatives, you have to define the context. You have to specify the group, okay? All right, forms of comparisons. This is going to be the last presentation of the comparison and superlatives. So who's next? Okay.
Different structures for comparisons. House price in China have risen more than in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese house prices have risen more than Japanese. The price of houses in China has risen more than in Japan.
Right.
Using high-low with abstract ideas. The birth rate was higher 20 years ago. Using more less with bad. This module is more difficult than the previous one. Current spending on house is less than last year's.
Right. So in order to compare, you can use more or less. But then again, you really have to be careful whom you are comparing. Okay. So define the group of people or the group of beings, group of things that you are comparing when you're writing. When you're actually making that comparison using the expressions like more or less. Okay, let's go into the exercise 148. I think we have B, C, D. So if you were to go to practice B, it gives you a table of income of top 10 European football clubs from 2021 to 22, right? So we have 10 different clubs here, and you basically answer the A, B, C, D, E, F, You add expression. So this is the exercise to define the group. So when you're making a comparison, in which group are you making the comparison of, right? So let's add the expressions here. So study the table which shows the income of the top 10 clubs in European football. Then read the comparison. Each sentence contains one error. So you find the error in the sentence and correct it. In A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, whose turn is it? Who's? Chinggis? Okay, A. Manchester City had the highest income.
In top 10 clubs in Europe.
Very good. Among the top 10 European clubs. B. Bayern Munich's income was almost the same. Alright? C. Liverpool earned marginally more than Arsenal. What's wrong?
Liverpool earned marginally more income than Arsenal.
More income?
Manchester United.
This is about the qualifier expression. It's not marginally, significantly. Yeah, because it's like $200 million more. Marginally is like slightly.
So it's Manchester United, right?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, but then like if you were to keep Liverpool, then you have to change marginally to significantly. D. Tottenham had less revenue than Liverpool. E. Liverpool's income was substantially more than Manchester. Huh? Marginally, yes, very good. Slightly. F. Arsenal was the least wealthy club.
Than other clubs.
among the top 10 European clubs. Yeah, among. That you use then when you're using comparison. But for superlative like this, you say among or in. Okay, let's do the practice C. So for practice C, you study the table below, which shows the share of total energy consumption produced from renewable sources in various European countries in 2022. And then write a paragraph comparing them. Okay, so it actually gives you the first sentence in the next page. It says, among various European nations, Luxembourg produces the greatest amount of its energy from renewable sources. So this is the first sentence, and you actually complete the whole paragraph by studying the table. You can write down anything, but complete the whole paragraph. Okay? Yeah.